Upon hearing Duan Tian's underlying cynicism, the Zhou clan Grand Elder turned a green shade and became pale, but he did not say anything in response at all. The reason why he had charged there so furiously and swore to kill Duan Tian, the enemy who killed his son, was that he had just made a breakthrough to the 9th level martial monarch stage in his closed-door cultivation and had an unblinding faith towards his own strength. He thought that it would be easy for him to kill Duan Tian. It was only now that he realized that he was wrong. He was awfully wrong. Even after he had already broken through to the 9th level martial monarch stage, he was still no match for this foe who had killed his son. Just by casting a defensive martial skill, his opponent could block the attack that he had unleashed with his full force. He was very clear about what this indicated. There was a massive gap between his strength and this person. If this guy's strength were only slightly better than his, he would not have been able to block the sword skill that he had unleashed with his full force easily, with just a defensive martial skill alone. Although I'm a 9th level martial monarch, I've yet to comprehend any 9th level martial stage profundity at all. There's still so much that I have to improve in terms of my strength. Looking at Duan Tian, the Zhou clan Grand Elder's heart skipped a beat as his eyes shone brightly. Where there's life, there's still hope. By the time I've raised the profundities that I need to comprehend, I'll look for him again to avenge my son. The moment the Zhou clan's Grand Elder thought of this, he started to think about retreating. Sword blinking technique. Without any warning, the Grade 1 spirit sword in the Grand Elder's hand flicked, and he threw it behind with all his might. Like a lightning bolt, it shot out in fury, just as everybody, including Duan Tian, was taken by surprise. The Zhou clan Grand Elder's body trembled, and his speed suddenly accelerated to an extreme before he chased the Grade 1 spirit sword that had yet to speed up. Holding on to it, he allowed it to lead him as it flew away. Whoosh! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the Zhou clan Grand Elder disappeared after his Grade 1 spirit sword vanished in thin air. However, in the eyes of the few people, including Duan Tian and Zhou Zhang, the Zhou clan Grand Elder had first flung out his spirit sword with all his might, and then fled with the help of the Grade 1 sword. Such speed that could be catalyzed by the boost from the spirit weapon was none other than the heaven rank advanced movement martial technique, sword blinking technique. It was way stronger than other regular movement martial techniques. He escaped. Just when the Zhou clan Grand Elder vanished into thin air, the crowd on the scene started to realize he had fled. Perplexed expressions appeared on their faces. Just now, when the Grand Elder had made his appearance, he had charged in menacingly, all proud and arrogant. However, right now, he had turned his tail and ran, creating a strong and sharp contrast between the scenario before. Trying to flee? A sneer crept upon the corner of Duan Tian's mouth. Dragon soaring the 9 heavens. The next instance, Duan Tian seemed to have transformed into a divine dragon, and a series of sword swishings set off, where he swept past. That was the quasi-royal grade spirit sword that was clearing a path for him. As the last set of movement martial technique in the 9 Dragons War Sovereign technique, the dragon soaring the 9 heavens was the most brilliant movement martial technique ever. It could even be cast through a spirit weapon as well. For this very reason, the speed that Duan Tian possessed now was the strength of 4 ancient black dragons plus an additional 9,000 ancient horned dragons. It was way more than Zhou clan Grand Elder's strength of 4 ancient black dragons plus 3,000 over ancient horned dragons. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Tian came to block Zhou clan's Grand Elder. How are you so fast? Seeing the purple-clad young man standing in front of him, horror dawned on the Zhou clan Grand Elder as disbelief filled his eyes. In his opinion, he already relied on the strength boost from his spirit weapon to flee, so by right, he should not have been able to catch up with him. Do you think that only your movement martial technique can have a strength boost from your spirit weapon? Duan Tian seemed to have seen through the Zhou clan Grand Elder's mind as he retorted. For a moment, the color drained from the Grand Elder's face. No wonder this guy could chase him. It turned out that his movement martial technique could get a strength boost from the spirit weapon too. In fact, even those same heaven rank advanced movement martial techniques had some differences among them. Those that could have a strength boost from the spirit weapon were worlds apart from those that could not. I'm going all out with you. Noticing that he was unable to flee from this purple-clad young man, adding on to the fact that he was no match to him at all hopes of the Grand Elder dashed to pieces as he roared out loudly before exerting his force towards Duan Ling Tian. Going all out with me? Are you sure you're worthy enough? In the face of the Zhou clan Grand Elder's roar and his lightning-like figure that was charging at him, Duan Ling Tian's face was full of disdain. With a raise of his hand, he casually flicked the spirit sword in his opponent's hand away with his own sword. Whoosh! In the next instance, Duan Ling Tian pounded towards the Zhou clan Grand Elder like the force of evil, and one of his palms thrust forward towards his dantian with a force that seemed as though a deity was aiding it. No! Upon seeing this, the Grand Elder seemed to have realized something as terror dawned on his face before he cried out sharply. Bam! Unfortunately, it was to no avail no matter how loudly he cried out. With Duan Ling Tian's palm thrust out, his dantian was crippled easily, causing him to follow in his son's footsteps. Then, like an eagle clutching a chick, Duan Ling Tian carried the Zhou clan Grand Elder back to the Zhou clan's auction square. It had only been a span of a blink of an eye from the moment he left until he returned with the Grand Elder's body with him. Clan leader Zhou, this guy wanted to kill me, and I've now crippled his dantian. I'm sure you don't have any objection in me killing him, do you? Duan Ling Tian looked towards Zhou Zheng, the clan leader of the Zhou clan, and asked nonchalantly. His hand was holding on to the Zhou clan Grand Elder, and the energy in his hand kept gushing out, destroying the profundity that the Grand Elder sent out and applied to his own body again and again. Despite the Grand Elder having had his cultivation base crippled, the damage was only limited to his origin energy alone. His profundity still remained. Although Zhou Zheng was incredibly ashen, he did not say anything in reply. How could he dare say that he had any objection at such a time? Their Zhou clan Grand Elder had just been crippled. Their Grand Elder had always been one of the very best in the Zhou clan, and he used to be just as mighty as him. After the Zhou clan Grand Elder had made a breakthrough to the 9th level martial monarch stage, he had already become the strongest person in the clan. Even so, he had still been crippled by this purple-clad young man in front of him. He had completely zero doubts that if he dared to voice that the Zhou clan had objections towards him now, the future awaiting the clan would no doubt consist of attacks that would lash at them like a furious storm. For the sake of his clan, he could only choose to remain silent. It looks like clan leader Zhou has no objection at all. Seeing Zhou Zheng remain silent, Duan Ling Tian knew his stance already. With a lift of his hand, he pushed the Zhou clan Grand Elder away. In the next instance, Duan Ling Tian stretched out a hand, and an invisible energy extended out to transform into a hidden hand that clasped onto the neck of the Zhou clan Grand Elder before hoisting him up in the air. See, cough, cough. The wizened face of the Zhou clan Grand Elder that was covered in a curly beard was now thoroughly flushed. Because of the pain on his throat, he could not stop coughing drilly. Your son, Zhou, was just like you as well. After I crippled his dantian, I also hoisted him up high by the neck. Duan Ling Tian stared at the Zhou clan Grand Elder calmly and remarked indifferently, "Tsk, even the way the both of you struggle is also the same, as expected of father and son. Why you? Upon hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, there was no doubt that the Grand Elder could no longer hold it back any longer. However, being gripped by the neck, he could not even utter a complete sentence. All that he could do was glare at Duan Ling Tian with his eyes bulging. What? Duan Ling Tian's gaze turned cold as his tone became clear. Today, the reason I came to the Zhou clan's auction square was to entrust 2 items to be auctioned. However, your son, Zhou, was a good Samaritan indeed. Not only did he try to pocket the items that I entrusted, but he even tried to kill me as well. It's okay for him to kill me. So tell me, how is it not okay for me to kill him? How ridiculous." As Duan Ling Tian reached the end of his sentence, he sneered. Right at this moment, the crowd in the Zhou clan's auction square finally learned about the entire incident. The items that the son of the Zhou clan Grand Elder tried to pocket must be that sword and the pill then. What a huge appetite he had. He actually dared to pocket an auctioned item that costs 800,000 pieces of high-grade origin stones. Wasn't he scared of bursting with greed and being too full? If he really had his way just now, we'd most likely still be in the dark about there actually being such a grade 1 spirit sword and life recovery pills that exist in this world. When the crowds buried their heads in discussion, they were filled with the wrath of righteousness. Just now, you said that you want to torture me to death slowly. Originally, I shouldn't let you die so fast as well so easily. However, I'm always a person who respects the aged and cherishes the young. So I'll send you away directly and let you reunite with your son then. Duan Ling Tian glared coldly at the Grand Elder as he spelled out unhurriedly. The moment the crowd heard this, the corner of their mouths twitched right away. How the hell was this respecting the aged and cherishing the young? As for Duan Ling Tian, when he reached the end of his sentence, his hand suddenly tightened, and the invisible hand proceeded to tighten too. Crack! A crisp sound reverberated in the air. That was the Zhou clan Grand Elder's neck being shattered to pieces. As his head lolled limply to one side, he had utterly lost his breath. He was dead. A 9th-level martial monarch had died just like that. However, such a 9th-level martial monarch as the Zhou clan Grand Elder could only be ranked at the bottom among the group of 9th-level martial monarchs in the Cloud Continent. He was not even worth mentioning in front of the other 9th-level martial monarchs. Whoosh, whoosh. With a raise of his hand, Duan Ling Tian kept the spatial ring on the Grand Elder's finger and the profundity fragments in his body. Then, he casually threw the body out and let him fall to the ground before it smashed to become a puddle of bloody mess. The scene fell into a dead silence once again. Everybody's gaze shifted towards Duan Ling Tian in unison. They were all taken by surprise by his strength. How could he actually defeat the Zhou clan Grand Elder who had broken through to the 9th-level martial monarch stage? Who exactly is he? This was the common question in everybody's minds. Tian Wu. After Duan Ling Tian had stored the Grand Elder's spatial ring and profundity fragments, he looked towards the woman in red standing outside the pergola, Feng Tian Wu. Whoosh. The moment she heard him, she rose up into the air under the watchful eyes of the others and soon arrived beside Duan Ling Tian. Right at this moment, somebody mustered his courage and asked, "Sir, you still have yet to tell us where did the sword and pill that you auctioned come from?" The crowd could tell that they were about to leave when the purple-clad young man called for his companion to go to his side. "I told you guys that I'd tell you, so I shall answer you." Duan Ling Tian looked down at the crowds and replied slowly. Upon hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, the crowd's eyes lit up right away as they looked at him in anticipation one by one. Even Zhou Zheng, the clan leader of the Zhou clan, and Zhou Ji, the manager of the Zhou clan auction square, were curious too. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Duan Ling Tian began to announce neither hurriedly nor slowly. "The Grade 1 Spirit Sword and the life recovery pill that I entrusted to be auctioned came from my sect, the Ling Tian sect. The Ling Tian sect." The moment Duan Ling Tian's words left his mouth, everyone except Feng Tian Wu were stunned with bewilderment. Of course, they knew the Ling Tian sect. The Ling Tian sect was formerly known as the Yin Yang sect. It had met with a catastrophe and then had its name changed by the first sect leader to appear in almost 1,000 years. "Is it the same Ling Tian sect that has a sect leader called Duan Ling Tian?" somebody asked. Everyone was familiar with the fact that the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect was a young powerhouse called Duan Ling Tian. "I'm Duan Ling Tian." In the face of their doubts, Duan Ling Tian declared with a calm expression. Boom. The moment he said that, it was like a stone that set off 1,000 ripples, taking everybody, including Zhou Zheng, by surprise as all their faces were filled with astonishment. This purple-clad young man was Duan Ling Tian, the sect leader of Ling Tian sect, that had raised a babble of discussion in public this whole time? No wonder he is so powerful. So he's the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect after all. A pang of realization hit Zhou Zheng. At the same time, he glanced at Duan Ling Tian with a complicated look. In the past, when the Ling Tian sect was still the Yin Yang sect, he did not feel any fear at all when the Peak Master of Yin Peak and Yang Peak came to find him because his strength was in no way inferior to theirs. Yet right now, the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect had given him an inexplicable sense of pressure that bore down on him so much that he could hardly breathe. This pressure came from the powerful strength that this person possessed. This sect leader killed even the Grand Elder of the Zhou clan who had made a breakthrough to the 9th-level martial monarch stage. One could easily imagine just how powerful he was. Perhaps it would be easy for this person to annihilate the Zhou clan. He's Duan Ling Tian, the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect? No wonder he's so strong. So he's actually that sect leader of Ling Tian sect that everyone has been talking about recently. The other people were hit by a pang of realization too. Some women even stared at Duan Ling Tian with love-struck eyes. Jolie was pretty unlucky. He actually offended such a fiend, Zhou sighed. Even if it were in his dreams, Jolie was most likely unable to imagine that one of the two customers that he had served was actually the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect that had provoked a whirlwind of discussion recently. If he had known about it, he never would have had any covetous thoughts towards the two auctioned items at all, even if he were beaten to death. What a joke. Those two items were the very same freaking items that the sect leader of Ling Tian sect had entrusted to be auctioned. It was rumored that the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect could kill the former peak leader of the Yang peak of the Yin Yang sect, who had unleashed all his techniques and exerted his maximum force in just one blow without using his spirit weapon at all. The former peak leader of the Yang peak had a strength that was in no way inferior to the clan leader of their Zhou clan. Sect leader Duan, did the sword and the pill that you entrusted to be auctioned really come from your Ling Tian sect? Right at this moment, Zhou Zheng looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked with a grave expression, as far as I know, your Ling Tian sect doesn't have any grade 1 weapons craftsman and alchemist at all. Clan leader Zhou, are you sure you're talking about our Ling Tian sect and not the original Yin Yang sect? In the face of Zhou Zheng's query, Duan Ling Tian asked rhetorically. Zhou Zheng was stunned into silence. Right now, I'm sure that all of you must have the same question with clan leader Zhou in your hearts. In that case, I'll answer all of you at the same time. Overseeing the place, Duan Ling Tian announced in a crisp voice, that sword and that pill came from none other than the hands of the grade 1 weapons craftsman and alchemist in my Ling Tian sect. Although they were already mentally prepared, the moment they heard Duan Ling Tian, the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, admit the fact on his own, everybody still could not suppress their astonishment. On top of that, I hope that all of you could help me to spread out a piece of important news, Duan Ling Tian continued. For a moment, everybody's gaze shifted towards Duan Ling Tian. Some who could hardly wait even asked out loud, pardon me, sect leader Duan, may we know what is it that you want us to spread out? From today onwards, the Ling Tian sect will open up its doors and accept grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists in huge numbers. Seeing that the time was right, Duan Ling Tian announced boisterously, whichever grade 1 weapons craftsman and alchemist that joins the Ling Tian sect will be able to receive pointers and improve your own weapon and medicine refinement level. As for from whom they would be receiving the pointers, Duan Ling Tian did not care to elaborate. However, the people on the scene could guess who as the sword and the pill that was auctioned by the Zhou clan was no doubt the best explanation. Whoosh, whoosh. Just as most of them were still in a daze, two swishing sounds resonated in the air. Duan Ling Tian and Feng Tian Wu disappeared without a trace, and it was evident that they had already left. It looks like the auction fair that was held by our Zhou clan's auction square today has become Duan Ling Tian's stage instead. Zhou Zheng smiled wryly. Right now, if he still could not see the intention of Duan Ling Tian entrusting the sword and the pill to be auctioned at the Zhou clan's auction square, then it meant that he had lived for so many years in vain. The sword and the pill were merely bait. His final goal was actually the grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists who were desperate to increase their weapon and medicine refinement level. Unlike Zhou Zheng, whose concern was different, what the other people cared about more was whether the Ling Tian sect would still release grade 1 spirit weapons and pills like the items that had been auctioned just now. No matter what, the fact that the Ling Tian sect had a weapon craftsman that could refine a grade 1 spirit weapon that could give a strength boost of 90% and an alchemist that could refine a grade 1 pill that had a purity of 91% began to spread across the land. Not only that, but the Ling Tian sect had also started to accept grade 1 weapon craftsmen and alchemists from outside their clan in huge numbers. All grade 1 weapon craftsmen and alchemists who joined the Ling Tian sect would be able to receive pointers on how to create the grade 1 items. If it were just an ordinary sect that had spread out such news of recruiting grade 1 weapon craftsmen and alchemists, it would undoubtedly receive a lot of tongue-lashing from the public. However, the Ling Tian sect was different. The Ling Tian sect could produce a grade 1 spirit weapon that could give a boost in strength by 90% and a grade 1 pill that had a purity of 90% and above. If one did not believe it, one could check out the Zhou clan's estate in Ataraxia City. There were a grade 1 spirit weapon and a grade 1 life recovery pill in the hands of the Zhou clan that came from the Ling Tian sect. Ever since then, a grade 1 weapons craftsman and alchemist would go to the Zhou clan's mansion once in a while and the clan would go out of their way to welcome them. However, the moment these Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists saw the sword and the pill that the Zhou clan managed to bid for, they hastily left again, completely ignoring the clan leader of the Zhou clan and the group of elders who tried to cozy up to them. This made the Zhou clan members hate Duanling Tian to the core, as he had used them for his own advantage. Of course, this took place much later in the story. After leaving the Zhou clan's auction square, Duanling Tian and Feng Tian Wu headed back to the Ling Tian sect at breakneck speed, as though they had transformed into two lightning bolts. Was that the most important matter that you brought me out to settle? After losing her memory, Feng Tian Wu rarely took the initiative to talk to Duanling Tian first. That's right. Duanling Tian smiled as he nodded. I want to borrow their mouths to spread the news of the Grade 1 spirit, sword, and the life recovery pill. That way, working together with Xiong Quan and the Gold Thug, we'll be able to bait many Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists in a short period of time. Is it really just to bait them over? Feng Tian Wu blinked her autumn eyes as she asked. Of course not. Duanling Tian shook his head and replied seriously. As long as the weapons craftsmen and alchemists who are willing to join our Ling Tian sect are willing to learn, I'd be glad to teach them all. But, of course, it's up to them exactly how much they can learn. As the person who had merged with the memory of the two reincarnations of the Rebirth Martial Emperor, he understood very well just how difficult it was for a Grade 1 weapons craftsman and alchemist to make progress. It was almost impossible to make any progress if one did not have a superior innate talent. The preeminent in this context referred to a person who was the most distinguished in a group of Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists and could surpass most of them. Feng Tianwu nodded her head lightly. Suddenly, as though a light bulb went off in her mind, she asked in a faint voice, "Judging from the way you're recruiting the Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists, I'm sure you have other intentions other than for the sake of the Ling Tian sect, don't you?" "Yes." Duanling Tian nodded, not denying it. Be it the mass recruiting of Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists, or the deliberate act of mine to spread my name widely, I'm doing all of that actually to find Kuer and Little Fair. The Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists had an extensive network that was hard for an ordinary person to imagine. With their help, Duanling Tian believed that he would be able to find the two girls soon. He also wanted to spread the notoriety of his own name because he wished to let the two girls know that he had already come to the inner land and that they could rush back to the Ling Tian sect to reconcile with him. They must be very outstanding, aren't they? Feng Tianwu asked. I've told you about them in detail in the past, but you've now forgotten about it because of your amnesia. Duanling Tian smiled before proceeded to reintroduce Kur and Li Fei to Feng Tianwu. When he mentioned the two girls, his eyes flowed with warmth. Just by listening to him, Feng Tianwu could hear the significance of Kuer and Li Fei in Duanling Tian's heart. How I wish to meet them. Feng Tianwu responded lightly in the end. You'll get your chance. Duanling Tian smiled and nodded. Soon, both of them returned to the Ling Tian sect. The first thing that Duanling Tian did was to look for Luo Ping. Vice sect leader Luo, get some disciples to prepare a place to stay. It's better if you can dig a flat platform at the middle of the mountain and build some multi-story pavilions there. Sect leader, are you and Miss Tianwu going to stay there? Luo Ping nodded, unable to suppress the question from rising. No, it's not for us. It's mainly for the new members of our Ling Tian sect. Duanling Tian smiled as he said. New members? Luo Ping was taken aback. She completely had no idea what Duanling Tian was talking about. You'll find out soon. Duanling Tian flashed a mysterious smirk, and Luo Ping smiled wryly in response. Her face was filled with confusion and befuddlement. Go and get ready. We are short on time, so make sure you finish it as soon as possible. Duanling Tian told Luo Ping with a solemn face. Yes, sect leader. Luo Ping nodded. After bidding her farewell, she proceeded to leave. After she left, Duanling Tian made his rounds at Ling Tian Peak and carefully studied the surroundings. Looking at the sect that was already on track now, a smile that came from the bottom of his heart spread across his face. Although he did not have much interest in controlling a sect when he first became the sect leader, right then, he was filled with a tiny sense of accomplishment. No wonder many people itch to accomplish both success and fame and become a leader of a force. It turns out that the feeling of standing at the top, controlling everything, is actually this great. Staring at Ling Tian Peak in front of him, Duanling Tian's gaze gradually became unfocused. This was the sect that he controlled, the Ling Tian sect. There will come a day when I let the entire Cloud continent know about the existence of the Ling Tian sect. I believe that day won't be too far away. Duan Ling Tian's eyes gleamed brightly like two stars that seemed to be able to illuminate everything. A few moments later, Duan Ling Tian left, but he did not return to the place where he stayed. Instead, he went to find for the two Yu brothers, who were also the vice sect leaders of the Ling Tian sect. Sect leader. Upon seeing Duan Ling Tian, the two Yu brothers bowed deeply and dared not slack at all. The reason I'm looking for you two is so you can help me gather some materials, Duan Ling Tian told them. Please tell us, clan leader. The Yu brothers quickly nodded. In the next instance, Duan Ling Tian rattled off a long list of materials and asked them to find them in the storehouse of the Ling Tian sect. If they could not find them in there, then they would have to go outside to search. I urgently need to use these materials. Make sure you gather them all as soon as possible. As he finished, Duan Ling Tian's face was very glum. Don't worry, sect leader. Leave it to us. The Yu brothers pledged in all seriousness and sincerity. Ever since the Yin Yang sect had changed its name to the Ling Tian sect, although they had become the vice sect leaders, they were usually cast aside with no tasks to do. Looking at Luo Ping, who was always active by the sect leader's side, their hearts were filled with great anxiety. Now, the sect leader had finally come to them for some matters, and, of course, they did not dare to be negligent. Making up their minds, they decided to do all that they could in their power to gather all the materials for their sect leader in the shortest time possible. Go. Duan Ling Tian dismissed them. Yes, sir. The Yu brothers responded respectfully before they left like two streaks of lightning that vanished before Duan Ling Tian's eyes. By the time they have finished gathering the materials, I can then create puppets without restraint. When the group of puppets that are mobilized by the origin stones is grouped together and become a combined puppet, I wonder how strong it'll become. As his heart pounded excitedly, Duan Ling Tian's eyes were full of anticipation. Long ago, when he had managed to bid for the mysterious silver in the Zhou clan's auction square, he had already made up his mind to refine a group of puppets and group them together using the inscription formation he had obtained from the Martial Emperor's secret treasure. The group of puppets would be able to cast powerful origin energy, and along with the profundity fragments embedded in their bodies, they could mimic a martial monarch. Ultimately, Duan Ling Tian would be able to control them through the mysterious silver. A few more days, and I'm sure there will be a grade 1 weapons craftsman or alchemist knocking on the door already. After retracting his daydream, Duan Ling Tian's thought of discourse changed and soon shifted to another place as he muttered to himself. Duan Ling Tian was taken by surprise when a grade 1 weapons craftsman actually came knocking on his door the next day, wanting to meet him. A glorious, magnificent palace stood in the middle of the mountain at Ling Tian Peak. This was originally the main hall of the Yin Yang sect, and it had now become the main hall of the Ling Tian sect without a hitch. Today, two people stood in the main hall. One of them was clad in purple and was sitting in the main seat. It was none other than Duan Ling Tian. The person standing below him was a regularly clothed, middle-aged man whose face was covered in untrimmed stubble, as though he had not groomed himself for a long time now. Are you a grade 1 weapons craftsman? Duan Ling Tian looked at the middle-aged man and asked nonchalantly, Are you the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect? Despite his sloppy dressing, his eyes were as bright as stars as he studied Duan Ling Tian from top to bottom. Interesting. Duan Ling Tian took a good look at the man. That's right. I'm the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect. Poof. With a raise of his hand, the man quickly ascertained his identity. Of course, it was not just his actions. The main thing that proved his identity was a flame that was surrounded by a golden purplish color that gushed out of his palm with just a flip of his hand. A grade 1 weapon flame. Do you plan to enter the Ling Tian sect and become the sect's grade 1 weapons craftsman? A glimpse flashed across Duan Ling Tian's eyes as he asked. Even though he had confirmed that this middle-aged man was a grade 1 weapons craftsman, he still did not reveal any strange expression at all, as if the person standing in front of him was just an average Joe. Duan Ling Tian's attitude took the man by surprise. The man replied in a calm tone, As long as I can confirm that your Ling Tian sect really does have a weapons craftsman who can refine a grade 1 spirit weapon that gives a strength boost of 90%, I'll stay. Confirm? Duan Ling Tian smirked. Didn't you go take a look at the Zhou clan's mansion? I did, but that doesn't prove anything, he replied. Oh, Duan Ling Tian took a hard look at the middle-aged man before he asked, "What's your name?" "If the Ling Tian sect can make me stay, I'll naturally tell you. If you can't, well, what's the point in me telling you?" The man replied coolly. Duan Ling Tian was stunned before studying the middle-aged man carefully as he said, "How do you want our Ling Tian sect's Grade 1 weapons craftsman to prove himself to you? By refining a Grade 1 spirit weapon in front of you." "Well, that'd be best." The man nodded as his eyes gleamed brightly. Whoosh. Soon, horror dawned on his face when he realized that the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, who had been in the seat in front of him, was gone. He was even more startled by a piercing cold wind blowing towards him, which only meant that the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect was charging at him at that very second. "What? Are you shocked?" Duan Ling Tian stood firmly in front of him before asking, with a ridiculing smirk, "What are you trying to do?" Staring at the purple-clad young man standing so close to him, the middle-aged man's face was a little sallow. "What? Don't you want me to prove it to you?" Duan Ling Tian flashed a charming, bright smile. "Take out your Grade 1 spirit weapon," he ordered. Upon hearing this, the man was dumbfounded. Even though he already had all sorts of suspicions in his heart, he still took out a foldable fan that seemed extremely odd. It only had fan ribs and had no paper covering it. However, it was still a Grade 1 spirit weapon. A Grade 1 spirit weapon with a boost of 89%. When Duan Ling Tian took the foldable fan from him, his eyes lit up right away. How did you know? Witnessing how Duan Ling Tian could tell that his foldable fan was a Grade 1 spirit weapon that could provide a boost of 89% the moment he touched the fan, the man's eyes grew as big as saucers. When he looked at Duan Ling Tian again, it was as though he had seen a ghost. However, Duan Ling Tian did not reply to him at all. Poof! With a flip of his hand, a gust of tyrannical flame, which was dark caramel in color, burst out from his palm. The moment this dark caramel flame appeared, the middle-aged man regained his calmness. In the next instance, he focused on the flame in Duan Ling Tian's hand like he was possessed. Duan Ling Tian threw the foldable fan into the dark caramel flame that spouted out of his palm. In the span of just a few breaths, the foldable fan had transformed into a pool of liquid. This is a weapon flame that has a much higher level than the Grade 1 weapon flame. The middle-aged man's eyes narrowed as he cried out in a deep voice, losing his cool. It would normally take 15 minutes for even a Grade 1 weapon flame to melt his Grade 1 foldable fan, hence his shock. However, the dark caramel flame had turned his fan into a puddle of liquid within only a few breaths. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately, his gaze was drawn entirely to Duan Ling Tian, who was now recreating the Grade 1 foldable fan, trying to raise its boosting abilities. With just a raise of his hand, such an abstruse weapon refining technique was at his fingertips, causing the man to be in a daze watching him. When had he ever seen such marvelous weapon refining technique before? Right now, he seemed to have forgotten everything. In his eyes, only the pair of long, slender hands that kept transforming his fan stood out, continuing to display a weapon refining technique that made him lost in wonder and astonishment. Duan Ling Tian seemed to be concentrating on the refining of the weapon, but in truth, he was still able to distract a part of himself to check on other things. He also noticed the man's exaggerated expression. "You're already so astonished now. Won't you be even more bewildered later on?" A sneer appeared in the corner of Duan Ling Tian's mouth. Time continued to pass quietly. An hour passed by in just a blink of an eye. The puddle of liquid had already taken on an embryonic form of the foldable fan. Only a little more, and it would be refined into its original look. Another hour went by. This time, the foldable fan had completely assumed the form of the original fan, without anything amiss in the slightest. Whoosh! As Duan Ling Tian retracted his hand, the dark caramel flame extinguished, and the foldable fan fell into his hand firmly. Done. Looking at the foldable hand in his hand, Duan Ling Tian flashed a pleased smile. Even though the foldable fan in front seemed to be no different than the one before, he knew that there was a complete earth-shattering transformation underneath the changeless appearance. "Take it." With a raise of his hand, Duan Ling Tian tossed the foldable fan to the middle-aged man. Yes, yes. The man finally returned to his senses. Hastily, he took the foldable fan and gazed at Duan Ling Tian with a fiery expression. "Sect leader Duan, what grade weapons craftsman are you? You must have surpassed the scope of the Grade 1 weapons craftsman already, haven't you? Well, let's talk about this later." Have a go at the foldable fan that I've just recreated for you. Duan Ling Tian replied nonchalantly. All right. Upon hearing this, the man took a deep breath before mobilizing and channeling the origin energy from his body into the foldable fan in his hand. In just a second, a great brilliance shimmered from the foldable fan. After a moment, he stared at the heaven and earth phenomenon above his head and was stunned in bewilderment. A boost of 92%. At this moment, there was a silhouette of an ancient black dragon above the middle-aged man's head along with 9,200 ancient horned dragons spiraling up there. They were vivid and lively, making a shocking visual impact. 7th level martial monarch stage? Duan Ling Tian was surprised. It had never crossed his mind that not only was this man in front of him a grade 1 weapons craftsman, but he was also quite a formidable martial monarch. Looks like I've picked up a pot of gold today. With a jolt of his heart, a smile crept up the corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth. In the entire Ling Tian sect, only Luo Ping, Yu Ping, and Yuan were on the 7th level martial monarch stage and above. Even he himself was only on the 4th level martial monarch stage. Of course, that was only in reference to their cultivation base. In terms of combat strength, even if Luo Ping joined forces with the Yu brothers, they were no match for him at all. However, a person who was at the 7th level martial monarch stage and above was still a powerhouse no matter what. If he could join the Ling Tian sect, he would definitely be a great help to the Ling Tian sect. How did you do that? The middle-aged man looked at Duan Ling Tian and could barely suppress the excitement on his face. The moment he recalled the scene earlier, he still felt like he was in a trance. Duan Ling Tian looked into the eyes of the man with a calm expression. Instead of replying him, he asked him back, right now? Are you willing to join the Ling Tian sect? I am. The moment Duan Ling Tian asked him that, he immediately nodded eagerly, not daring to show any hesitation at all. What a joke. Here was a person who could refine a grade 1 spirit weapon that gave a strength boost of 92% for goodness sake. Although he was one of the very best among the many grade 1 weapons craftsmen, there was no way for him to compare to this person in front of him at all. Now, he had an opportunity to stay in the sect that this person in front of him was in and to obtain pointers from him. Of course, he would never let go of such a brilliant chance. Well, unless he was a fool. Very good. Welcome to the Ling Tian sect. After obtaining the middle-aged man's reply, a bright sunny smile flashed across Duan Ling Tian's face. Good day, sect leader. I'm Zhang San. Only then did the middle-aged man recall the identity of this person who fronted the Ling Tian sect. Hastily, he bowed down to pay his respects, and at the same time, he gave his own name. Concurrently, Zhang San's heart was filled with bewilderment. He had already heard rumors that this purple-clad young man in front was Duan Ling Tian, the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect. Apart from that, he also heard that he was quite powerful. Without using any spirit weapon, he was able to annihilate Yang Hong, the peak master of Yang Peak and the former Yin Yang sect. Furthermore, he also killed the Zhou clan Grand Elder, who had to make breakthrough to the 9th level martial monarch in just a blink of an eye in the Ataraxia city. Could such strength be labeled weak? However, this was not the problem here. What Zhang San could not accept was the fact that this sect leader of the Ling Tian sect turned out to be actually a grade 1 weapons craftsman. Furthermore, he surpassed all other grade 1 weapons craftsmen. At first, I thought that he was a powerful demon for having such immense strength with such a young appearance. But now that I look at it, he's actually a human, or maybe a variant. Zhang San speculated to himself. It was almost impossible for a demon to become a weapons craftsman, let alone a weapons craftsman who prevailed over all other grade 1 weapons craftsmen. Zhang San. The moment Duan Ling Tian heard the man's name, he had a strange expression right away. It had never crossed his mind that an almighty 7th level martial monarch stage powerhouse or a grade 1 weapons craftsman would actually have such a casual name. If we get someone else named Li Si who joins the Ling Tian sect, you two can then partner up together, Duan Ling Tian joked. Zhang San and Li Si. It rolled off the tongue quite smoothly. However, beyond Duan Ling Tian's expectations, the moment he said that, Zhang San's expression turned grave as he asked in shock. As sect leader, how do you know that I know Li Si? Is there really a Li Si? A twitch could be seen by the corner of Duan Ling Tian's mouth. He was just making a casual remark earlier. That's right. Zhang San nodded his head in all solemnness. Li Si is a guy from my neighboring village. That time, he and I partnered up to go pathfinding outside. and by lucky coincidence, we came across a fortuitous encounter. Ever since then, I became a weapons craftsman, and he is an alchemist. Zhang Sen finished in one breath. What grade is he? Duan Ling Tian's eyes shone brightly as he asked curiously. A grade 1 alchemist, Zhang Sen replied. If that guy knew that there's somebody in the Ling Tian sect who can refine a grade 1 pill with a purity of 91%, he'd definitely come here immediately. However, unfortunately, that guy is in closed-door cultivation now to strive to make a breakthrough to the 7th level martial monarch stage. He said that he wouldn't come out until he's finally able to be on the same level as me. When he reached the end of his sentence, Zhang San was somewhat helpless. Then, in this case, if he's come out of his closed-door cultivation, will he also be willing to join our Ling Tian sect? Duan Ling Tian's eyes lit up. As long as he can get some pointers from the grade 1 alchemist of our Ling Tian sect, I'm sure he'd definitely come. Although that guy's level of medicine refinement is much stronger than most grade 1 alchemists, he has only managed to refine 3 pills with a purity of 85% and above in his entire life, and they were not all grade 1 pills, Zhang San answered with full confidence. When he reached the end of his sentence, he had deliberately introduced Li Si to Duan Ling Tian in detail. 3 pills with a purity of 85% and above? Then, it seems like his medicine refinement level is pretty high. In this case, it looks like the fortuitous encounter that you guys went through together last time was not that simple. Duan Ling Tian took a good look at Zhang San. His wisdom and farsightedness seemed to be able to see through everything. So much so that Zhang San felt a chill running down his spine as he responded, "It's not bad." Rebirth Martial Emperor? Duan Ling Tian suddenly asked and spat out these 3 words without warning. The moment Zhang San heard of this, he cried out loud in a deep voice at once. With a bewildered expression on his face, he stared at Duan Ling Tian as though he was staring at a ghost. How did you know? Zhang San believed that no one else would know about the place that he and Li Si had come across the last time, because they had both sworn using the 99 heavenly tribulation that they would never tell anyone else anything about that place. However, he could no longer suppress his shock when he heard Duan Ling Tian. The place he and Li Si had come across was left behind by a martial emperor whose honorific title was known as the Rebirth Martial Emperor. The place was a cenotaph. A cenotaph referred to the place a martial emperor casually left behind to pass on his legacy. Contrary to popular belief, it was not the place where he died. Of course, if described using the martial emperor's words himself, it was merely a game that he had created out of boredom. Whoever could successfully pass the game would be able to gain quite a lot of benefits. It looks like you two must have found the cenotaph by the northern side of the Flowing Wind City, Duan Ling Tian remarked. Have you been there before too? Zhang Sen gasped sharply. Could that be the reason this sect leader of the Ling Tian sect possessed such powerful weapon refining method? Because he had gone there before? That was right. Just now, though the exquisite weapon refining technique that he displayed, Zhang Sen could still roughly see some of the trails of the weapon refining technique that he had mastered. No. Duan Ling Tian shook his head lightly. No. It was apparent that Zhang Sen did not really believe him. You could say that I'm the successor of another generation of the Rebirth Martial Emperor. I know almost everything that he did. What he left behind at the cenotaph weren't many, but the fact that you made such achievements today is also quite hard to come by. Duan Ling Tian blurted out with a hint of compliment in his tone. Just now, the reason why he had speculated that the fortuitous encounter that Zhang San and Li Si had come across was that the cenotaph that the Rebirth Martial Emperor had left behind was due to their achievements following that. Of course, some other aspects contributed to it too. Like just now, when he had just taken the foldable fan from Zhang San, he had noticed a familiar trace on it, but he was not too sure about it then. The successor of another generation of the Rebirth Martial Emperor? Zhang San's eyes narrowed. At the same time, he hastily bowed down towards Duan Ling Tian to show his respect. Senior brother. Senior brother? Duan Ling Tian looked at Zhang San with a faint smile. If I remember correctly, the cenotaph that the Rebirth Martial Emperor left behind did clearly state that whoever receives his legacy isn't considered as his disciples, didn't it? Even so, I still regard the senior Rebirth Martial Emperor as my master. Please forgive me for not knowing your identity earlier on. Senior brother, Zhang San replied, and at the same time, he bowed again. His tone was filled with sincerity. Seeing Zhang San insisting on calling him senior brother, Duan Ling Tian did not say anything more. Perhaps Zhang San might be more obedient and stay at the Ling Tian sect because of this. This was a good thing for him. Suddenly, as though a pang of realization hit him, Duan Ling Tian asked, "Last time, you must have made the grade 1 spirit saber that could give a boost of 89% and appeared at the auction fair held by the Zhou clan's auction square, didn't you?" Even though he did not inspect that grade 1 spirit saber in detail, it was so rare to have a grade 1 spirit weapon that could give a boost of 89%. And how was it be possible for it to have been refined by just any grade 1 weapons craftsman? Recalling the fact that Zhang San was the first to pay a visit to his sect, it was obvious that he must have come from nearby. Because of this, he guessed that the spirit saber had also come from Zhang San. "Please excuse my poor product." Zhang San smiled awkwardly. That day, although he was not at the Zhou clan's auction square, he had heard that the grade 1 spirit saber that he had refined, which was also supposed to be the final item in the auction fair, had been replaced by 2 other items. At first, he was a little pissed, but the moment he learned about the items being auctioned, he instantly lost his temper. He had personally gone to the Zhou clan to reaffirm it, and after confirming that the grade 1 spirit sword that the Zhou clan bid for could boost one's strength by 90%, he immediately rushed towards the Ling Tian sect. It never crossed his mind that the person who could refine such earth-defying grade 1 spirit sword in the Ling Tian sect was actually Duan Ling Tian, the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect himself. What was more unexpected to him was the fact that just like him, Duan Ling Tian's master was the Rebirth Martial Emperor as well. However, he was very clear that whatever Duan Ling Tian had learned was much more than what he had grasped. This was evident when Duan Ling Tian refined the grade 1 spirit weapon that could give a strength boost of 92%. Then, does this mean that what Li Si obtained is the medicine refinement Dao's legacy left behind by the Rebirth Martial Emperor? Duan Ling Tian asked. Yes, Zhang San nodded. Upon hearing that, Duan Ling Tian narrowed his eyes lightly. It had never crossed his mind that the cenotaph left behind during the second reincarnation of the Rebirth Martial Emperor would be discovered by somebody else. What more the benefit that was left? According to the Rebirth Martial Emperor's memory, that marker was the only cenotaph containing the legacy of the weapon and medicine refinement Dao that he had left behind. Of course, the legacy left behind had only reached grade 1 of weapon craftsmanship and alchemy. There was not a single word on quasi-royal grade or royal grade weapons craftsmanship and alchemy at all. People were selfish, let alone this Rebirth Martial Emperor who was once the one and only quasi-royal grade weapons craftsman and alchemist. He would, of course, never share everything about himself. You two are lucky. Duan Ling Tian smiled at Zhang San. No matter how good we are, we're still not as skilled as you, senior brother. Zhang San's real age must be at least 20 or 30 years older than that of Duan Ling Tian's. Still, as he was facing Duan Ling Tian, it seemed as though he was facing his senior. He was extremely humble and modest. Even so, he appeared to be very natural. In the weapons refinement Dao, the person who was more talented was much more respected. Suddenly, a flash of brilliance flashed across Zhang San's eyes as he stared with a burning gaze at Duan Ling Tian before he asked, "Senior brother, the weapon flame that you solidified just now, that must be a weapon flame that has an even higher grade than the grade 1 weapon fire, isn't it?" Just now, the dark caramel flame that burst out of Duan Ling Tian's hand had only taken the span of a few breaths to melt his grade 1 spirit fan into a puddle of liquid. That display of power was much stronger than his grade 1 weapon fire. Good job. Duan Ling Tian did not deny it. The weapon fire that he had solidified earlier was indeed a weapon flame that had a higher grade than the grade 1 weapon flame. It was the quasi-royal grade weapon flame. Because of this quasi-royal grade weapon flame, he was able to temper the grade 1 spirit weapon that could originally give a strength boost of 89% and remold it into a grade 1 spirit weapon that could boost one's power by 92%. Even though it was a waste to use the quasi-royal grade weapon flame to refine a grade 1 spirit weapon, its effects were extremely potent. It looks like there's a level of weapons craftsman that is much higher than grade 1 of weapons craftsman. Senior brother, I can't believe that you've actually attained such a level in the weapons refinement Dao. Even in his prime, senior Rebirth Martial Emperor couldn't compare to you right now, could he? Zhang San sighed. His words elicited heat that crept up Duan Ling Tian's cheeks. He knew that Zhang San had uttered such words because he did not know anything about the Rebirth Martial Emperor at all. Or perhaps, In Zhang San's opinion, the Rebirth Martial Emperor was only a grade 1 weapons craftsman and alchemist. Zhang San had probably never even heard of quasi-royal grade, or even royal grade weapons craftsmen and alchemists before. As long as you're willing to work hard, you'll eventually reach where I am now, Duan Lingtian replied. As long as you're willing to give me some pointers, senior brother, I believe that I'll get there. Zhang San smiled with an underlying meaning in his words. Rest assured, since you've already joined the Lingtian sect, even if it were without the roots that both of us have with regards to the Rebirth Martial Emperor, I wouldn't withhold any pointers from you. Duan Lingtian replied in all seriousness. Thank you, senior brother. Upon hearing that, Zhang San's face was filled with a delighted expression. At the same time, he quickly bowed in gratitude. Another few days more, and I believe that there'll be many grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists who'll come to our Lingtian sect. By that time, I'll assign you a group of grade 1 weapons craftsmen to lead. Duan Lingtian told Zhang San. I hope that you won't let me down. Thank you for having such a high opinion of me, senior brother. I definitely won't let you down. Zhang San replied with a solemn expression. Duan Lingtian nodded. The reason he had made such a decision was that the attainment that Zhang San possessed in the weapons refinement Dao was far from other ordinary grade 1 weapons craftsmen. However, all grade 1 weapons craftsmen were haughty and proud. In order to convince them, one would need to crush them violently in the weapons refinement Dao, so that they would genuinely submit. Zhang San was no doubt a great candidate. Roughly when will Li Si come out of his closed-door cultivation? Besides that, Duan Lingtian also wished to task a group of grade 1 alchemists to Li Si to lead. According to Zhang San, his accomplishment in the medicine refinement Dao far surpassed other regular grade 1 alchemists. It shouldn't be too long now, Zhang San replied. That'd be great. Duan Lingtian nodded before his body flashed towards the outside of the main hall. Follow me. I'll ask Vice Sect Leader Luo to arrange a place for you to stay. After settling a place for Zhang San to stay, Duan Lingtian returned to his room to cultivate, and after just 3 days of cultivation, there were already many grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists who had come knocking on their door. These weapons craftsmen and alchemists showed up because of the attractiveness of the fame. After Duan Lingtian had shown his mastery of the weapons and medicine refinement Dao, all the weapons craftsmen and alchemists decided to stay. As weapon craftsmen and alchemists who had reached their current level, most of them sought to achieve a higher level in the weapons and medicine refinement Dao. There was no doubt that staying in the Lingtian sect was the best opportunity for them to do so. Zhang San led the group of weapons craftsmen, and even the alchemists were parked under him temporarily. What was worth mentioning was that after Duan Lingtian had demonstrated his powerful weapons refinement technique followed by another powerful medicine refinement technique, it had taken everyone, including Zhang San, by extreme astoundment. Variant. The sect leader must be a variant. That was the only thought in the minds of the group of grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists, including Zhang San. None of them thought that Duan Lingtian could possibly be a human. He only looked about 25 years old, yet his cultivation base seemed to be at the 9th level martial monarch stage already. He excelled in both weapons and medicine refinement Dao, and not only that, but he also demonstrated eye-boggling accomplishments that could be labeled as monstrous in both disciplines. In their opinions, such a person could only be a variant. Not just that, but he was a variant among the variants. For this reason, just with his charm alone, Duan Lingtian managed to enthrall the group of grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists to stay. There were a total of 13 weapons craftsmen and alchemists. Of course, as long as the Lingtian sect continued to recruit grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists from the outside, this number would keep increasing. Even though the rate of increase was slow, it would inevitably become an alarming number after a long period of accumulation. Slap. Each and every elder and disciple of the Lingtian sect who used to doubt Duan Lingtian's words before seemed to feel a stinging slap land violently on their faces. In fact, it was a loud, crisp slap. The elders and disciples of the Lingtian sect could still remember that just some time ago, Duan Lingtian, their sect leader, had promised that he would bait some grade 1 alchemists and weapons craftsmen to the Lingtian sect. At that time, they thought that the sect leader was merely bragging. However, the reality was like a loud, resounding slap, and at the same time, it shut their mouths completely. As a sect that had been passed down for several thousand years, the true martial sect, which was also a first-rate force now, stood inside a great, vast canyon. The Great Canyon was filled with thick, green plants and bushes, making it seem like it was the middle of spring. Being in the canyon gave one a feeling of peace and tranquility. However, that day, an uninvited guest made his appearance at the true martial sect. An old man, who was already worn out from a long journey, descended from the sky at a speed so fast that the disciples patrolling above the sky of the true martial sect's estate did not notice anything at all. Sect leader Wu Lai, Zhou Hua from the Zhou clan is here. Very soon, a boisterous voice echoed from the Great Canyon and took everybody from the true martial sect by surprise. Zhou Hua. Right away, many elders and disciples from the true martial sect were bewildered. They were not unfamiliar with the name Zhou Hua. Zhou Hua was the second elder of the Zhou clan from Ataraxia City. He was one of the very few powerhouses who were on the 7th level martial monarch stage and above. His strength was incredibly mighty, and even their true martial sect had only a handful of people that could compare to him. Elder Zhou Hua. Very soon, a middle-aged man who was finely dressed appeared before Zhou Hua, the second elder of the Zhou clan, accompanied by an old, white-haired man. I wonder what brings you to my true martial sect, Elder Zhou Hua. The well-dressed middle-aged man looked at Zhou Hua and smiled as he asked. Sect leader Wu Lai. The moment Zhou Hua saw him, he did not dare to slack and immediately paid his respect. Wu Lai was the sect leader of the true martial sect, and he was one of the strongest people in the true martial sect. Suddenly, Zhou Hua turned solemn and reminded him beforehand. Sect leader Wu Lai, I hope you'll be mentally prepared before I tell you about this matter. With such a warning, Wu Lai immediately felt an ominous premonition. Instantly, his face turned grave, and his eyes became glum as he asked in a deep voice, What is it that you're going to tell me? Elder Zhou Hua. Sect leader Wu Lai, before I came here, your 2 sons died in Ataraxia City. After Zhou Hua finished his sentence in a breath, he heaved a sigh before he added, My condolences to you. Boom. The moment Zhou Hua's words left his mouth, it was as though a lightning had suddenly struck from the sky and landed right on Wu Lai's head, shocking him until he could not return to his senses for a very long time. By the time he finally came to, an extremely cool aura automatically gushed out of his body. Elder Zhou Hua, is that the truth? I'd not dare lie to you regarding such a matter, sect leader Wu Lai. Zhou Hua replied with a straight face. Who was the one who did it? Wu Lai roared in a deep voice. I don't know either. You don't know? Upon hearing that, Wu Lai's face turned thunderous. By the time he looked at Zhou Hua again, there was the additional hint of a murderous gleam in his eyes as though he was about to press his enmity against the second elder of the Zhou clan. Before I came, he hadn't revealed his identity yet. Perhaps he has already done so by now. Tell me as we move. After Wu Lai spat out in his deep voice, his figure charged out, and he disappeared from the spot. He was heading towards Ataraxia City. Right at this moment, the old man by Wu Lai's side had also followed suit at a speed that did not seem to be slower than Wu Lai's. After taking a deep breath, Zhou Hua followed as well. Very soon, Lu Jie, whose speed was not yet fully unleashed, asked in a deep voice after Zhou Hua had caught up with him. Elder Zhou Hua, tell me, what actually happened? Where did it happen? Why would my sons be dead? Under the burning gaze of Wu Lai, Zhou Hua revealed everything that he knew. If that pair of bitch and son of a bitch don't die, I, Wu Lai, am not worthy to be their father. After knowing that his 2 sons had died one after another in the hands of a man and a woman, and that they had actually come together, Wu Lai was utterly furious. A few days later, Wu Lai, Zhou Hua, and the other guy reached Ataraxia City. At the same time, the trio learned about the incidents that had happened after Zhou Hua left Ataraxia City. They found out what happened at the Zhou clan's auction square. The people who killed Wu Lai's 2 sons were both from the Ling Tian sect, and one of them was even the sect leader. Under the watchful eyes of the others, the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect killed the Zhou clan grand elder who had made a breakthrough to the 9th level martial monarch stage and demonstrated immense strength. Sect leader Wu Lai, I know you want to seek revenge for you 2 sons, but I suggest you hold back a little regarding this. At the Zhou clan's mansion, Zhou Zheng, the clan leader of the Zhou clan side at Wu Lai, I don't look down upon your true martial sect, but I'm afraid that none of you in the true martial sect can defeat him. That day, Zhou Zheng had witnessed the scene of the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, Duan Ling Tian, making his move with his own eyes. For this reason, He was the one who had the most significant say in this matter. Thank you for your reminder, clan leader Zhou. Wu Lai nodded slowly. Although he was filled with flames of rage, he could only suppress his anger for now. Even though he itched to avenge his two sons, he did not lose his cool. While it was true that he was the father of those two young men, at the same time, he was also the sect leader of the true martial sect. He needed to look at the bigger picture. As though a pang of realization hit him, Wu Lai looked up at Zhou Zheng. Clan leader Zhou, just now, you said that Duan Ling Tian is doing mass recruitment of Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists. Yes, with a Grade 1 spirit weapon that can boost one's strength by 90% and a Grade 1 pill that has a purity of 91% as a gimmick, he's attracting the Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists to the Ling Tian sect, Wu Lai muttered. I think right now, the Ling Tian sect must have quite a number of Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists already, don't they? That's right. Zhou Zheng nodded again. At the same time, he smiled wryly. As far as I know, if you're talking about just Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists alone, the Ling Tian sect already has more than 10 of them already. More than 10 people was not a big number. However, if there were more than 10 Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists, then, yes, it was enough to take anyone by surprise. Even those first-rate forces in the center area of the inner land don't have that many Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists in their troops. Even an ancient clan wouldn't have so many Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists either. Zhou Hua, the second elder of the Zhou clan who stood by the side, grinned wryly. It had never crossed his mind that so many accidents would occur in Ataraxia City all at once in just a few days ago when he left. Even the grand elder of their Zhou clan was killed as well. A nail that sticks out will usually be hammered down. Wu Lai's eyes gleamed coldly as he said in a deep voice, I'll let that Duan Ling Tian know that he's basically digging his own grave by doing such a mass recruit on Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists. The moment these words left Wu Lai's mouth, the other three people present at the scene stared at him in unison. Among the other three people, other than Zhou Zheng and Zhou Hua, there was another old man beside him who was also the guardian elder of the true martial sect. He had a strength that was in no way inferior to his. This guardian elder would usually be by Wu Lai's side and followed him as closely as a shadow would. Sect leader Wu Lai, what do you mean by this? Zhou Zheng asked curiously. Although the other two people did not say anything, curiosity flickered in their eyes as well. Clan leader Zhou, think about it. Duan Ling Tian used the sword and the pill that your Zhou clan has put up as bait. I'm sure that many Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists will definitely be tempted. Even those from the other first-rate forces would most likely be hooked, and they'll leave the forces that they were originally in to join the Ling Tian sect, Wu Lai explained unhurriedly. Do you think those first-rate forces would be happy about it? Nope. Zhou Zheng shook his head. The Zhou clan did not have any Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists. Even if they did, and the Ling Tian sect snatched them just like that, he and the Zhou clan would definitely find it hard to accept. They might even be infuriated because of this. Sect leader Wu Lai, you mean? Very soon. Zhou Zheng seemed to have guessed why would Wu Lai say such things already. At once, his eyes brightened. That's right. Wu Lai nodded as his eyes gleamed with a chilly brilliance that became colder as time passed. I want to unite all these first-rate forces that the Ling Tian sect has stolen its bricks from. By then, let's all head to the Ling Tian sect altogether and demand an explanation. The Ling Tian sect and Duan Ling Tian won't be proud for long. By the time he reached the end of his sentence, Wu Lai's voice had turned even frostier as though it came directly from an extremely icy hole. You're smart, sect leader Wu Lai. Zhou Hua had also returned to his senses, and he could not help but praise him. At the Ling Tian sect at Ling Tian Peak, a respectful and humble voice resonated from outside of Duan Ling Tian's room, waking him up. Sect leader, there's somebody outside looking for you. Duan Ling Tian, who had just returned to his senses from his cultivation, frowned slightly and asked, looking for me? Did he say who he is? He said he's Lu Bai. The voice from outside continued. Lu Bai. Duan Ling Tian's brows knitted together a little before he muttered to himself. Why would he come here? Isn't he supposed to be in the northern mountain land? Lu Bai was the second young master of the Lu clan from the northern mountain. The Lu clan of the northern mountain was where Duan Ling Tian had stayed before he crossed the Ruoshui River. At the same time, it was also the clan left behind by an alchemist taught by the Rebirth Martial Emperor during his second reincarnation. He was always fond of the Liu clan. Otherwise, he would have never left so many grade 1 spirit weapons and pills for them before he departed. All of those items were very high-grade assets. Whoosh. In the next second, Duan Ling Tian disappeared from his bed in the room, and he appeared outside in the blink of an eye. A Ling Tian sect disciple was standing outside respectfully and was maintaining a bowing posture. Bring me to him. Duan Ling Tian looked at the Ling Tian sect disciple and ordered. Yes. The disciple led the way in front with Duan Ling Tian following suit closely behind. Very soon, he saw the incomer. It was Liu Bai of the Liu clan of the Northern Mountain. Liu Bai, why are you here? Duan Ling Tian asked curiously. Duan Ling Tian, it really is you. Seeing Duan Ling Tian, Liu Bai seemed to have clutched a life-saving straw. His initially calm face was filled with emotions at once, and his body started to tremble violently. What's wrong with you? Duan Ling Tian noticed that something seemed to be wrong with Liu Bai's emotions. Duan Ling Tian, you must avenge the clan leader and the former clan leader. 2 streaks of tears trickled down Liu Bai's cheeks. A man would not easily shed tears unless his heart was really broken. What's wrong with the clan leader and the former clan leader? Upon hearing this, Duan Ling Tian's face darkened. Other than Liu Bai, the person to whom he was closer in the Liu clan was none other than Liu Rui, the clan leader of the Liu clan. He was also deeply fond of the former clan leader too. Dead. They're all dead. Liu Bai looked at Duan Ling Tian and wept with a face full of agony. Our Liu clan is gone. Only I'm left in the entire Liu clan. Only me. The Liu clan was gone. Duan Ling Tian's eyes narrowed as he asked in a deep voice. What actually happened? Who dared to annihilate the Liu clan? The reason the Liu clan was able to survive for 10,000 years was that it maintained a close relationship with some of the first-rate forces in the inner land. Yet, somebody had just annihilated the Liu clan? Wouldn't that person be terrified of offending the first-rate forces behind the Liu clan? Not long after you left. Very soon, Duan Ling Tian learned about the ins and outs of the story from Liu Bai's mouth. Not long after he left, an uninvited guest had shown up in the northern mountain land and called himself a member of the ancient Han clan. At the same time, that person also had another identity, the uncle-in-law of Cheng He. Of course, Duan Ling Tian knew who Cheng He was. He was the guild master of the Alchemist Guild's main guild in the southern outer land who had died by his hand. He thought that Duan Ling Tian had mastered some unique medicine refining technique and kept wanting to force him to spill it out. He failed the first time and the second time, so he had brought back up with him. A member of the Han clan? Duan Ling Tian's face darkened as his eyes gleamed icily. His palms were already balled in fists tightly somehow, and the purple robe on his body fluttered without the presence of any wind. If the Han clan member really blamed and annihilated the Liu clan for Cheng He's death, then without a doubt, he was the one who had brought all this harm to the Liu clan indirectly. For this reason, he was responsible for the complete annihilation of the Liu clan and for everyone's death. That old man who claimed to come from the ancient Han clan, whose name is Han Jing, killed every one of our Liu clan except for me. If it weren't for the clan leader who arranged for my escape, I wouldn't have made it today. As he reached this part of the story, Liu Bai's eyes were filled with dread that came from the bottom of his heart, as though he had recalled something very horrifying. Han Jing of the Han clan. Duan Ling Tian's heart roiled with melancholy as he heard the devastating news. At the same time, he etched this name in his heart deeply. He was ultimately responsible for the annihilation of the Liu clan. Eventually, he would kill Han Jing and seek revenge for the Liu clan. Han Jing is basically a demon. After he wiped out our Liu clan, I managed to escape by luck. After that, I heard that he already wiped the O clan out too. Liu Bai continued, his body quivering even more violently, as though the horror of what he experienced penetrated the deepest of his bones. The O clan was wiped out by him too. Duan Ling Tian frowned. Although the Liu and the O clans from the northern mountain had protection from the first-rate forces in the inner land, Han Jing still eradicated them one after another. Despite Duan Ling Tian's shock, it did not come as a complete surprise. If Han Jing really were a powerhouse who came from the Han clan, even the first-rate forces who swore to protect the O and the Liu clans would never dare to make their move on Han Jing. The ancient Han clan held a position in the Cloud Continent that far surpassed all the other first-rate forces. The former and the latter were at two completely different levels. Didn't Cheng He bring the O clan's clan leader as a backup the last time? Duan Ling Tian frowned, because he could not fathom it at all. He was infuriated because of the clan leader of the O clan fleeing at the last minute. So he annihilated the O clan together as well. Our Lu clan and the O clan, the two great clans that have had a legacy that's been passed down for 10,000 years in the northern mountain land, no longer exist. As Lu Bai reached here, bitterness and helplessness could be heard in his tone. He only now realized that other than having a vast connection, the reason the Lu and the O clans could have survived for 10,000 years was that they had never offended the true powerhouse in the Cloud Continent. Just like the powerhouse of the Han clan this time, he ultimately had no fear against the first-rate force behind the Lu and the O clans at all. Upon hearing that the two great clans in the northern mountain land that had a legacy of 10,000 years annihilated just like that, Duan Ling Tin could not help but sigh. The two clans had survived for 10,000 years, yet in the end, they still could not withstand the attack from the Han clan's powerhouse. Duan Ling Tian did not feel anything about the O clan being wiped out at all. After all, the O clan was involved in this because of the decision that their clan leader had made by himself. On the other hand, Duan Ling Tian felt utterly guilty about the Lu clan. Han Jing of the Han clan. If I don't kill you, it will be hard for me, Duan Ling Tian, to live in this world anymore. His eyes turned frigid, and he growled in a voice that was dry and slightly harsh, as though he coughed the words out from his throat, giving off a sense of chill to those who heard him. At the same time, a brutal, murderous intention swept out from his body to all over the area, like he was a fully infuriated killing god. Before Lu Bai could realize what was happening as he stood nearby, he was already enveloped by the murderous intent that funneled towards him. All he could feel at that moment was how he shuddered with terror as his body began to tremble even more violently. After a long time, Duan Ling Tian finally retracted the murderous intention from his body, and his face finally regained its calmness. Lu Bai, why did you come to the inner land? Duan Ling Tian looked at Lu Bai and asked curiously. I'm here to look for you, Lu Bai answered sincerely. At the same time, he raised his hand, and a spatial ring appeared in his hand. It was a spatial ring that had not had ownership claim performed on it at all. This is the ring that the clan leader asked me to pass to you after I've found you. The clan leader? Duan Ling Tian raised his brows. Of course, he knew that the clan leader that Lu Bai was referring to was Lu Rue, the clan leader of the Lu clan. After accepting the spatial ring, he performed a blood ownership claim on it. The next moment, he saw its contents. The Grade 1 spirit weapons and the pill bottles, which were filled with Grade 1 pills that he had left behind for the Lu clan, stood quietly right there. Upon seeing this, Duan Ling Tian knew that when Lu Rue had passed this spatial ring to Lu Bai, he knew that he would not be able to survive, so he placed his hopes on Lu by escaping. Other than what he had left behind for the Lu clan, Duan Ling Tian also noticed a jade slip. A voice transmission jade slip? Taking the jade slip out, he immediately injected his origin energy into it. The next moment, a clear and familiar voice echoed in Duan Ling Tian's ears. Elder Duan, if you can't hear my voice, please help take care of this kid, Lu Bai, on behalf of my Lu clan. This kid is the last bloodline of my Lu clan. Please don't blame yourself for what has happened to the Lu clan, Elder Duan. Everything is destined by God. The owner of the voice coming from the voice transmission jade slip was none other than Lu Rue, the clan leader of the Lu clan, destined by God. Without a doubt, Duan Ling Tian knew that Lu Rue was comforting him. He did not believe in those talk about God at all. He only knew that man was the master of his own fate. No matter what, although he was not the person who had demolished the Lu clan, he was still indirectly the culprit. For this reason, he could not shirk away from this responsibility. Don't you worry, I'll take good care of Lu Bai. As for the revenge of the Lu clan, I'll settle the old scores for all of you too, he promised in his heart. An icy flame that smoldered as though it could burn through everything lit up in the depth of his eyes. Lu Bai, just stay in the Ling Tian sect from today onwards. I'll give you the best cultivation resources and assist you in rebuilding the Lu clan. As long as the Lu clan still has you, it's not completely foregone yet. Duan Ling Tian told Lu Bai determinedly. Thank you. Lu Bai immediately thanked him emotionally. To him, being able to stay at the Ling Tian sect was, no doubt, a dream came true. Let's go. I'll bring you to see somebody and let her arrange accommodation for you. The person Duan Ling Tian bringing Lu Bai to see was none other than Luo Ping, the vice sect leader of the Ling Tian sect. On the way, Lu Bai followed Duan Ling Tian. His eyes flickered with complication looking at Duan Ling Tian's back view. Back then, the strength that Duan Ling Tian had demonstrated at the Lu clan of the Northern Mountain was already enough to take him by inexplicable shock. Yet the fact that Duan Ling Tian was able to become the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect made him feel as though he was dreaming. Not long ago, when he had just arrived at the Inner Land, he had heard about the Yin-Yang sect being renamed to the Ling Tian sect. He also heard that the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect was called Duan Ling Tian. At first, when he heard about all this, the first thought that came to his mind was that the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect must be the Duan Ling Tian that he knew. However, as his mind pondered over it, he found it to be too good to be true. In his memory, although Duan Ling Tian was strong, he was still not that powerful to be able to kill Yang Hong, the peak master of the Yin-Yang sect's Yang Peak, in just one blow without the help of any spirit weapon. However, in the end, he still decided to test his luck at the Ling Tian sect. As it turned out, he was indeed quite lucky. The sect leader of the Ling Tian sect was indeed the Duan Ling Tian that he knew. After handing Lu Bai to Luo Ping, Duan Ling Tian told him, "Cultivate properly with all your heart. As for the Lu clan, I'll avenge them for you. I'll definitely raise my cultivation base so that I can be of some help to you." Lu Bai replied earnestly. After settling Lu Bai, Duan Ling Tian's heart was still a little heavy. A clan as large as the Lu clan had been obliterated just like that. Do you have something in mind? Somehow, a glowing red figure appeared beside Duan Ling Tian. It was a lady who had looks that could topple huge nations that had asked that question lightly. The Lu clan has been annihilated, Duan Ling Tian answered wryly. Upon hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, the woman in red frowned a little. The Lu clan of the Northern Mountain? Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded. I'll help you. The terse reply of the woman immediately filled Duan Ling Tian's heart with warmth. At the same time, a little smile crept upon the corner of his mouth. Tian Wu was now more open and cheerful in front of him. After I've created those combined puppets, I'll take the great treasure that the Rebirth Martial Emperor has left behind for his third reincarnation during his second reincarnation. As long as I can get the royal grade resurrection pill, Tian Wu will most likely be able to regain her memory after consuming it. Duan Ling Tian started to plan out in his heart. After 3 days, the Yu brothers showed up in front of Duan Ling Tian. Sect leader, the materials that you asked for are all here. Yu Ping handed a spatial ring in his hand to Duan Ling Tian and reported respectfully. Good job. Duan Ling Tian nodded satisfactorily. With a raise of his hand, he tossed 2 pills to both of the Yu brothers. The Yu brothers caught them, and after careful inspection, their eyes lit up right away. Sect leader, is this a grade 1 life recovery pill? For a moment, they looked at Duan Ling Tian, and their breathing became slightly rapid. In their opinions, the grade 1 life recovery pill that their sect leader gave out would never be the ordinary grade 1 life recovery pill. Its purity must be 90% and above. The grade 1 life recovery pill in your hand has a purity of 99%. Duan Ling Tian explained nonchalantly. With the medicine refining technique and the experience that he had inherited from the Rebirth Martial Emperor, along with the quasi-royal grade pill fire that he could solidify now, refining a grade 1 pill was as easy as pie. Furthermore, he could also refine a grade 1 pill that was almost perfect, a purity of 99%. Upon hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, the Yu brothers were stupefied, unable to return to their senses for a long time. Of course, they would not doubt Duan Ling Tian's words. However, it did not mean that they were not taken by surprise with it. As far as they knew, the news that was being circulated outside was that the Ling Tian sect could produce a grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of 91% at the most. They also thought that the grade 1 life recovery pill that had a purity of 91% was already the maximum level. However, right now, after knowing that the grade 1 life recovery pill in their hands had a purity of 99%, both of the Yu brothers hastily stored the pill away as though they had just obtained a rare treasure. At the same time, reflexively, they took a look at the surroundings as though trying to confirm that there were no other people present who would find out that they had obtained such a mind-blowing grade 1 life recovery pill with a purity of 99%. You two don't have to look around anymore. There's nobody else here but the 3 of us. Upon seeing this, Duan Ling Tian could not help but smile. Still, The two Yu brothers still had a taut expression on their faces as though they were afraid that someone might know that they had been honored with a great treasure. They could faintly guess what a grade 1 life recovery pill that had a purity of 99% actually implied. The therapeutic efficacy of such a life recovery pill was not far from a miracle cure that could bring people back from the dead. It could even help save their lives during a critical moment. For this reason, they did not dare to slack at all. Upon seeing how the Yu brothers were acting like they were trying to look out for thieves to the point that even he was being ignored now, Duan Ling Tian shook his head and left after they had put the grade 1 life recovery pill away. Then, he proceeded to make the combined puppets using the materials that the Yu brothers had prepared. Right now, I'm looking forward to seeing the strength of the combined puppets. Duan Ling Tian's eyes lit up like an array of stars, and his face was covered with anticipation. However, there was no doubt that it would be an arduous process trying to make a combined puppet. He would have to make a group of ordinary puppets that was catalyzed by supreme grade origin stones first. After these puppets were completed, only then could Duan Ling Tian move on to the second step and work on the combined puppets. With the inscription formation that he had obtained from the Martial Emperor's secret treasure left behind by Martial Emperor Qing Feng, Duan Ling Tian was confident in his ability to create the combined puppets. Time continued to pass by slowly. After a month, Duan Ling Tian only managed to use up half of the materials and created half of the puppets. Each of these puppets was catalyzed by supreme grade origin stones and could bring out strength that was equivalent to the 7th level martial monarch's origin energy, which was the strength of 1,000 ancient horned dragons. However, although these puppets had quite an impressive strength, they were not even as valuable as specks of dust in his eyes. One would only need spitting from a martial monarch, and they would be drowned to death immediately. He aimed to group all these puppets together using that mysterious inscription formation and demonstrate an even efficacious strength. He continued to make his puppets, but not long after that, he was taken by surprise by the voice from outside. Oh no, sect leader, *T hit the fan. With no other choice, he could only put the work on hand down first. What's happened until you've lost your cool? He flew out and looked at the Ling Tian sect disciple who stood outside in the air with slight irritation as he frowned and asked. He hated it the most when somebody interrupted him while he was focused on doing his work. A decision formed in his mind instantly. If there were nothing serious, he would definitely punish this disciple severely. Sect leader, many people have intruded our Ling Tian sect and killed the disciples who were responsible for patrolling. The disciple hastily answered. What? Upon hearing the report from the Ling Tian sect disciple, Duan Ling Tian's face changed instantly. Killed the disciples of his Ling Tian sect? Who was it that was so bold? No matter who it was, they must pay the price for touching my people. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath as unconcealable cold flashes glinted in his eyes. Where are they? Duan Ling Tian looked at the disciple before him and asked in a deep voice. The disciple felt the anger radiating from the sect leader. He did not dare to delay and hurriedly replied, the north side. Who? The minute he finished his sentence, he felt a breeze on his face, and then the person who stood in front of him had gone entirely out of sight. Duan Ling Tian was angered. He was completely enraged. Now, he was the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, and someone was killing his people. In fact, they were killing his Ling Tian sect disciples. That was undoubtedly the equivalent to slapping him in his face and embarrassing him. I have to see who's so bold as to do this. Duan Ling Tian appeared as calm as water, but his killing intent surged as he murmured as if it would pierce through the boundless skies. Sect leader, on his way. A few persons met Duan Ling Tian and followed behind him, including a group of Ling Tian sect elders led by Luo Ping and the Yu brothers. Noticing that Duan Ling Tian kept silent, they knew that their sect leader was enraged. Young master. Soon, Xiong Quan and the gold thug arrived. A woman in red who looked like an elf draped in fire came along with them. After her appearance, everything around her seemed to be eclipsed by her beauty. As soon as she appeared, she landed beside Duan Ling Tian and walked alongside with him. Currently, Feng Tian Wu was the only person in Ling Tian sect who dared to walk alongside Duan Ling Tian. Sect leader. Shortly after, more greetings were heard. It was a dozen middle-aged and old men flying towards them. A middle-aged man led them, and they all then followed behind Duan Ling Tian. The middle-aged leader was Zhang San. As for the rest, They were the Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists who had recently joined the Ling Tian sect. However, Duan Ling Tian was not affected by the appearance of Zhang San and the rest. His sharp gaze was staring straight ahead. Even though there were no emotions on his face, the people present still felt a chilling aura emanating from his body. I don't know who's so bold to dare break into our Ling Tian sect, and they killed our Ling Tian sect disciples. I want them to come before me and never be able to leave. Many Ling Tian sect elders could not suppress the anger in their hearts and vented their fury with a growl. They had rushed over when they heard that someone had broken into the Ling Tian sect and killed the patrolling disciples. There, suddenly, a Ling Tian sect elder craned his neck and shouted. In the distance, a crowd appeared in their line of sight. Most of them were Ling Tian sect disciples. They had furiously surrounded a dozen people. Some of them clenched both their fists and trembled in agitation. More accurately, they were surrounding a mix of 12 middle-aged and old men. 6 people formed the front line, and the other 6 followed closely behind. It's him. At that time, the 5 people behind Zhang San frowned while their eyes were trained on 5 of the 6 leading individuals respectively. They seemed to know these people. Do you guys know them? Zhang San asked as his face turned grave while he pivoted to look at the 5 Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists behind him. I know that person. He's the sect leader of Flyfrost sect, which I was previously in. Behind him is the highest elder of Flyfrost sect, a Grade 1 alchemist said. I know that person too. He was the sect leader of Silver Feather sect from which I was in. Behind him is the guardian elder of Silver Feather sect, another Grade 1 weapons craftsman said. Apart from the both of them, the other 3 individuals gave a similar answer. 10 out of the 12 persons were people whom they knew and had interacted with. It seems like they're unwilling to accept your departure. Are they coming to fight for you at our Ling Tian sect? After learning the identity of 10 of out the 12 persons from the 5 of them, Zhang San naturally guessed their intentions for coming and could not help but sneer. They don't have the capabilities to make others stay, but dared to come to ask for it at the Ling Tian sect. They seem to think the Ling Tian sect is an easy target. At once, everyone who followed behind Duan Ling Tian understood the intentions of the dozen. Do they not think it was humiliating enough? They still dare to come and ask for these people from the Ling Tian sect. Many Ling Tian sect elders snickered. Who knows the other 2 of them? Zhang San asked the remaining Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists, but he did not get an answer. Maybe the Grade 1 weapons craftsmen or alchemists from their force haven't reached the Ling Tian sect after they left their force, someone guessed. That must be it. Many people agreed. Duan Ling Tian heard all the chatter around him, and his eyes became colder, as was the sneer on his lips. Sect leader. The arrival of Duan Ling Tian and his crew quickly caught the attention of the Ling Tian sect disciples. They looked at Duan Ling Tian in excitement. While they bowed and greeted him respectfully, there was almost blind worship in their eyes. During this time, with the group of Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists joining the Ling Tian sect, the Ling Tian sect elders and most of the outstanding disciples managed to obtain Grade 1 spirit weapons. Besides, all of them had, more or less, some Grade 1 pills in their hands. Although it was only an ordinary Grade 1 spirit weapon or Grade 1 pills from the Grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists who had just joined the Ling Tian sect, it was sufficient to inspire them. That was treatment they did not dare to dream about in the previous Yin-Yang sect. Now they got to enjoy such ways. All of that was attributed to the Ling Tian sect and their sect leader, Duan Ling Tian. For that reason, they respected the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect from the bottom of their hearts and even regarded him as their idol. Duan Ling Tian forced a smile and nodded in response when he looked at the group of Ling Tian sect disciples. However, when he led the group of people behind him and confronted the 12 persons in the encirclement, his smile disappeared. It was replaced by icy cold frost instead. One old man in a black robe among the 6 leading people in the opposing party stared at Duan Ling Tian with a cold face and asked condescendingly, "Are you the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, Duan Ling Tian?" However, Duan Ling Tian ignored him. His gaze swept past the faces of the 6 leading people. Then it swept past the other 6 behind them, as if he was observing something. For 9th level martial monarch stage? Duan Ling Tian lifted his eyebrows. He knew the score in his heart. Earlier, he seemed to be glancing at the dozen people in front of him, but actually, he was exploring their strengths with his spiritual energy. He found out that there were 4 9th-level martial monarch stage martial artists among the posse in front of him. As for the remaining 8, They were not weak either. They were all on the 8th level martial monarch stage. I asked you something. Didn't you hear me? The old man in the black robe instantly flew into a rage and yelled at Duan Ling Tian when he saw him ignoring him, and he noticed the mocking gaze from his surroundings. Duan Ling Tian kept on ignoring the old man in the black robe. To be precise, it was as if he did not hear the old man in the black robe at all. Sect leader Mo. However, this time an elderly man behind Zhang San stepped forward to stand alongside Zhang San and looked at the old man in the black robe. I left the 1,000 Feet sect purely on my own will. It was my choice, and there was nothing to do with the Ling Tian sect. Besides, when I left, didn't sect leader Mo say that we parted on good terms? The old man's face turned gloomy as he said. He seemed to feel that he had been deceived. Humph. However, the old man in the black robe just snorted when he was faced with this elderly. It seemed like he disdained to talk nonsense with him. He had struck an agreement with the leaders of the other 5 most substantial first-rate forces. After destroying the Ling Tian sect, they would not treat these grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists as kindly and generously as they had in the past. They would force them to swear an oath with the 99 heavenly tribulation to never betray the forces they were in, or they would be killed by heavenly tribulation. In the past, grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists were extremely rare. They did not dare to do so because they were afraid of encountering those with a strong character. But things were different today. There were nearly 20 grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists in the Ling Tian sect. Even if there were a dozen with strong characters who would rather die, the remaining ones would be enough for all of them. Hence, they were not worried that they could not recover their losses after destroying the Ling Tian sect. For that reason, the old man in the black robe, who was also the sect leader of the 1,000 Feet sect, seemed cold and even retrograde to the grade 1 weapons craftsman whom he used to treat warmly. Duan Ling Tian finally opened his mouth, but he did not answer the old man in a black robe. Instead, he asked a question in a deep voice. Did all 12 of you come due to the grade 1 weapons craftsmen and alchemists who left your respective forces? As Duan Ling Tian finished his sentence, a middle-aged man in fine clothes, who was among the 6 leading persons, said coolly, "The 5 sect leaders beside me came for that, but I didn't." Duan Ling Tian's eye landed on the well-dressed man in fine clothes. From the beginning, he had realized the difference in this person. He had shown his endless hatred from the moment he saw Duan Ling Tian. Sect leader of the true martial sect? Duan Ling Tian squinted his eyes and asked tentatively, "That's right, I'm true martial sect leader, Wu Lai. Today, I'll kill both of you to avenge both of my dead sons." Wu Lai looked at Duan Ling Tian and Feng Tian Wu with a cold glint in his eyes as a chilling, killing intent spread from his body. True martial sect leader? After hearing Wu Lai's words, Duan Ling Tian nodded in comprehension. "So you're the father of that 2 idiots." Idiots. When Duan Ling Tian's words came out, most people present took on a strange expression. Many people looked at Wu Lai at once. "What's the father of 2 idiots? You. Duan Ling Tian, don't push it." Wu Lai almost attacked Duan Ling Tian in anger. In that crucial moment, he remembered Duan Ling Tian's strength surpassed him, so he must suck it up and be patient. Anyway, the people against Duan Ling Tian and Ling Tian sect today was not only him. "Don't push it." Duan Ling Tian looked at Wu Lai mockingly. "I'm pushing it. What can you do? Would you dare attack me?" Previously, he discovered that Wu Lai was just an 8th level martial monarch stage martial artist. That's why he had disregarded Wu Lai from the beginning. If Wu Lai dared to attack him, he was confident he could kill him with one shot. "Provocation is useless against me." Wu Lai snorted, but his eyes still seemed to be able to spurt fire. It showed how angry he was in his heart. Trash. Duan Ling Tian ignored Wu Lai after coolly glancing at him and made him so angry that his eyes were cracking. Then, Duan Ling Tian's swift and piercing gaze swept across the remaining 11 people. "Who killed Ling Tian sect's patrolling disciples earlier?" Duan Ling Tian asked. He sounded extremely calm. However, if one paid attention, they would be able to hear extreme anger and coldness in his tone. "I did it." At that time, the gray-clad old man beside Wu Lai stepped forward as he coolly glanced at Duan Ling Tian. In his words, he did not seem to consider it a serious matter. At once, the group of Ling Tian sect elders and disciples was staring furiously at the gray-clad old man. "Sect leader Lin, why would you do that?" One old man behind Zhang San said with a sigh. That old man was a grade 1 weapon craftsman of the first-rate force, which was controlled by the gray-clad old man. He left his former first-rate force for Ling Tian's sect because he wanted guidance from the weapon craftsman who could refine grade 1 spirit weapon, which could amplify 90% one's strength. He, too, left in good terms, but he never imagined that the sect leader of the sect he was formerly at would cause a scene at Ling Tian's sect. You killed them alone? The gray-clad old man successfully caught Duan Ling Tian's attention as he squinted his eyes and asked him in a deep voice. That's right, the gray-clad old man proudly said. He did not seem to notice the danger was approaching him. Very well, dare to take responsibility for your own doing. If that's the case, go to hell. Duan Ling Tian, who was nodding seriously, vanished into thin air as he spoke. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the gray-clad old man. Xiao. In that split second, a short-lived sword cry sounded in all of the martial monarch powerhouse's ears, whereas the Ling Tian sect disciples below the martial monarch stage did not hear anything. Even though they did not hear anything, they clearly saw that the gray-clad old man instantly fell to the ground as their Ling Tian sect's sect leader, Duan Ling Tian, arrived in front of him. When he fell, his eyes were wide opened with disbelief as if he had encountered something unbelievable. Perhaps he never thought that he could be killed so easily by Duan Ling Tian until the moment before his death. As the gray-clad old man fell, there was a sword mark on his throat, a clear but subtle sword mark which was also his fatal wound. One strike to seal his throat. At that moment, the group of Ling Tian sect disciples was shocked. In fact, even the true martial sect's sect leader, Wu Lai, the leaders of the other 4 largest forces, as well as the people they brought, were dumbstruck. Boom. Until a loud bang sounded only did they finally recovered. It was Duan Ling Tian who grounded the gray-clad old man's body into dust with a palm. The only thing left was a spatial ring and several pieces of profundity fragments of which he kept. Sect leader. The old man who was following behind the gray-clad old man cried and lunged at Duan Ling Tian like a wild beast, with his origin energy rolling off his and profundity following like a shadow. He wanted to avenge the gray-clad old man. Wang, when attacked Duan Ling Tian with his grade 1 spirit weapon, he was determined to mince Duan Ling Tian into tens of thousands of pieces. Wang, 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 Wang. The blade gleam swept across the sky, headed for Duan Ling Tian overwhelmingly, as if it wanted to shred Duan Ling Tian in 10,000 pieces. Die! The old man yelled. Wherever he passed, air explosion sounds sounded continuously and set off gusts of raging wind that make the robes of everyone present fluttered. At the same time, heaven and earth phenomenon took form at the void above the old man. For ancient black dragon's silhouette and 1,000 ancient horn dragon's silhouette charged against Duan Ling Tian with sharp claws and bared fangs, as if intending to shred Duan Ling Tian. Die! The old man shouted. Air explosion sounds sounded wherever he passed, and caused gusts of raging winds which made everyone's robe fluttered. You must have the ability to kill me first. Duan Ling Tian sneered and faced it without avoiding. He has no fear of the storm-like attacks exerted by the old man. 9 Dragons Barrier. With a thought, the quasi-royal grade spirit sword in Duan Ling Tian's hand was wrapped in a 5-colored force. It created a swift and piercing sword chi which weaved around his body wantonly like a 5-colored divine dragon. The 5-colored divine dragon was extremely fast. It formed a 5-colored light shield on the surface of his skin in the blink of an eye. Boom, 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 boom. Overwhelming blade gleam hit the surface of the 5-colored light shield of Duan Ling Tian and caused a burst of loud sounds. The exploded airflow set off gusts of raging wind once again. However, it failed to break through the 5-colored light shield on the surface of Duan Ling Tian's skin. Dragon soaring the 9 heavens. Moments later, Duan Ling Tian braced blade gleam, which was falling like rain, and moved forward like a 5-colored divine dragon with exuded swift and piercing sword chi. He arrived in front of the old man in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, Duan Ling Tian raised his hand with the quasi-royal grade spirit sword in his hand. Xiao. When the 5-colored light shield around Duan Ling Tian's body disappeared, a short-lived sword cry was once again heard by all the martial monarch powerhouse who were present. Immediately afterward, the old man followed the footsteps of his sect leader under everyone's watchful eyes. Boom. Similarly, Duan Ling Tian grounded the old man into dust and kept his spatial ring and profundity fragments. The eyes of all leaders of the 5 largest forces, including true martial sects sect leader, Wu Lai, were locked onto the heaven and earth phenomenon forming in the void above Duan Ling Tian. They wanted to know Duan Ling Tian's strength. That was the reason why they just stood by the side and watched earlier. As the saying goes, you would only be ever victorious if you know the enemy and know yourself. They needed to delve in deeper to understand this Ling Tian sect's sect leader, Duan Ling Tian, who emerged out of nowhere and raised like a comet. Unfortunately, they were destined to be disappointed. The heaven and earth phenomenon in the void above Duan Ling Tian dissipated before it was formed. Now, one of the 4s from the original 6 largest first-rated forces was gone. There were only the people from the 5 largest first-rate forces left, including the true martial sect. Sect leader's amazing. Yes, he's so strong. Even the leader of a first-rate was instantly killed. The sect leader in the blink of an eye. The other strong powerhouse from that sect who was of a lofty status wasn't spared too. What's the fuss? The sect leader managed to get rid of Zhou clan's Grand Elder, who was at the 9th level martial monarch stage. It was naturally nothing for him to be able to kill 2 poor old men. That 2 poor old men probably weren't even as strong as Zhou clan's Grand Elder, who was killed by sect leader. A group of Ling Tian sect's disciples was discussing among themselves. Without exception, their gaze was filled with enthusiastic admiration. Some of the female disciples even stared at Duan Ling Tian longing. They regarded Duan Ling Tian as their dream lover. However, dignified expression was apparent on Zhang San's face, along with the faces of Grade 1 weapon craftsman and Grade 1 alchemist behind him, as well as all 3 of Ling Tian's sect vice sect leader. They could see that the rest of the party did not seem to care that 2 of their own died. Obviously, the persons who died wasn't the strongest among them. Otherwise, they would not stay as calm. They knew the real crisis of Ling Tian's sect has just begun. Not bad, not bad. 1,000 feet sect's sect leader, that old man in black robe, sized up Duan Ling Tian and nodded. It looked like an elder praising the younger generation. In the blink of an eye, he changed his expression and smirked. However, no matter how good your strength was, you're going to die here today. Let's attack together. After all, this chap could kill a 9th level martial monarch stage martial artist like us. We shan't be careless. The old man in a black robe's eye was locked onto Duan Ling Tian as he said to 3 other persons. The 3 other person he spoke to was leaders of 3 other first-rate forces apart from the true martial sect's sect leader, Wu Lai. The 3 of them had the same cultivation base as him. They were all 9th level martial monarch stage powerhouses. Zhou clan's Grand Elder was a martial artist who had just broke through to the 9th level martial monarch stage. Even I could kill him with 1 move. Among the leaders of the 3 first-rate forces, a middle-aged man in silver robes said in disdain. However, although he said that, he still stared at Duan Ling Tian cooperatively with a cold gaze. He was ready to attack at any time. As for the remaining 2 people, they also fixated their gaze on Duan Ling Tian at the first instant. They were on the verge of a war. Let's help the sect leader. The group of people behind Duan Ling Tian were agitated. All of them wanted to help Duan Ling Tian. However, they returned to silence when Duan Ling Tian lifted his hand. He knew the sect leader wanted them to stand by the side. Sect leader, you. The group of people including Zhang San intended to persuade Duan Ling Tian, but was interrupted by Duan Ling Tian in a deep voice. This is an order. For a time, the group of people who did not dare to violate Duan Ling Tian's orders looked at Duan Ling Tian's back with a concerned expression as their hearts were filled with worry. As Duan Ling Tian confronted the 4 9th level martial monarch stage powerhouses, the Ling Tian sect disciples who had formed the encirclement also began to gather behind Duan Ling Tian. Among the 4 9th level martial monarch stage powerhouses who stood in the front and confronted Duan Ling Tian, the old man in the black robe, who was also the sect leader of the 1,000 Feet sect, said in a cold voice, Duan Ling Tian. From now on, Ling Tian's sect no longer exists. His words implied that they were destined to kill Duan Ling Tian. That would depend on whether you have that capability or not. Despite facing 4 9th level martial monarch stage powerhouses, Duan Ling Tian had a calm and indifferent face. All of a sudden, the quasi-royal grade spirit sword in his hands split into 9 swords and hovered around his body, constantly rotating. The speed was getting faster and faster. You're also an inscription master? Seeing Duan Ling Tian's show of hands, the 4 ninth-level martial monarch stage powerhouses confronting Duan Ling Tian were shocked. They could see that Duan Ling Tian was controlling the 9 swords and making them rotate around his body with his spiritual energy. Compared to the shock of the 4 of them and their 6 companions, the people from the Ling Tian sect were not as surprised because the fact that their sect leader was an inscription master was no secret to the sect. The reason why the cold wind could not affect the north side of Ling Tian sect was that the sect leader had set up an inscription formation. From then on, they knew that he was an outstanding inscription master. Although the 9 swords surrounding Duan Ling Tian's body looked exactly the same, most people just thought that he had 9 exact same spirit swords. They never thought that the 9 swords were transformed from a single sword. Jianer, although father couldn't personally avenge your death personally, it can be considered revenge. You may rest in peace now. Jier, once Duan Ling Tian is dead, father will kill that bitch personally to avenge your death. The gaze of the sect leader of the true martial sect, Wu Lai, shifted from Duan Ling Tian to Feng Tian Wu, and suddenly, extreme frigidness shot out from his eyes as he waited for a chance to devour her. In his opinion, Duan Ling Tian would undoubtedly be a dead man today. Even though Duan Ling Tian could kill the Grand Elder of the Zhou clan who was a 9th-level martial monarch stage, but as far as he knew, the latter had just broken through to the 9th-level martial monarch stage. He had not even comprehended the 9th-level monarch stage profundity. As for the 4 9th-level martial monarch stage powerhouses on whom he had spent a lot of effort in persuading to come, any one of them also had the strength that overwhelmed the Grand Elder of the Zhou clan. Sect leader. The Ling Tian sect members looked at Duan Ling Tian with a dignified expression, full of concern in their eyes. At that very moment, they thought that their sect leader was so amazing as he stood there like a towering mountain. They held their breaths. No one opened their mouths to speak. Now, they understood that their sect leader was facing 4 leaders of first-rate forces similar to the Ling Tian sect. Their strength was apparent. Many people broke out in a cold sweat for Duan Ling Tian. Young Master, Xiong Quan and the gold thug stood at a distance and looked at Duan Ling Tian with hope in their eyes. They hoped that Duan Ling Tian could kill the 4 leaders of the first-rate forces. However, it was just hope. They were also unsure of it in their hearts, even though they knew Duan Ling Tian. They definitely know that Master managed to kill the Zhou clan Grand Elder, who was at the 9th-level martial monarch stage. However, they still came, so they must have some confidence in winning. The gold thug spoke to Xiong Quan through voice transmission. Crap, of course, I knew that. Xiong Quan answered snappily. His eyes were thick with worry as he responded. Feng Tian Wu backed down and gazed at Duan Ling Tian's back silently. Unconditional trust flooded her eyes. Kill. Finally, the sect leader of the 1,000 Feet sect, that old man in the black robe, shouted suddenly. Immediately, he seemed to transformed into a black lightning bolt and headed straight for Duan Ling Tian with great momentum. Boom. When the old man in the black robe moved, the air in his original position stirred and set off a deafening air explosion, followed by a burst of air explosions, which were slightly softer. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 others attacked in that same moment when the old man moved, and their sole target was Duan Ling Tian. One had to capture the ringleader first to capture all the followers. The 4 of them, who attacked as quick and resolute as lightning, knew that clearly in their hearts. The Ling Tian sect would break down and cease to exist once they got rid of Duan Ling Tian, who was their sect leader. Ling Tian sect will be the shortest-lived first-rate force in the history of the Cloud Continent. One of the old man's followers declared before he attacked. His tone was mixed with contempt and disdain. His words caused dread to fill the faces of the Ling Tian sect members. Everyone can brag. I'm still coming back to that same phrase. It depends on whether you have the ability to do so or not. In the face of their provocation, Duan Ling Tian spoke calmly, as if he was not caught in a confrontation with 4 9th-level martial monarch stage powerhouses. Dragons soaring the 9 heavens. Facing the 4 menacing 9th-level martial monarch stage powerhouses, Duan Ling Tian moved and seemed to have transformed into a 5-colored divine dragon soaring upwards into the clouds. Accompanied by the 4 snorts, Duan Ling Tian's attackers changed their direction and flew towards Duan Ling Tian like 4 bolts of lightning. The 5 of them, including Duan Ling Tian, were so fast that most of the Ling Tian sect disciples could not keep up with their figures. They could only hear some popping and explosion sounds in their ears, besides feeling the raging wind on their faces. Only those above 7th level martial monarch stage could barely see their actions. In their eyes, the scene before them was extremely spectacular. A 5-colored divine dragon was leading the way at the front, followed closely by 4 streamers that appeared as fast as lightning. Then, they were hidden by the clouds and completely disappeared from their eyes moments later. PSSSSHD, PSSSSHD, PSSSSHD. Witnessing such a thrilling pursuit, everyone present was on the rise to chase after them. No matter if they could see their actions or not, they stepped into the air just to be a part of all the action and craned their necks to look at the stormy clouds in the distance. Whoa, whoa, whoa. At that moment, under everyone's watchful eyes, there were 16 ancient black dragon silhouettes in the void above, in addition to more than 20,000 ancient horned dragon silhouettes, which were charging forward with their sharp claws and bared teeth. They seemed to be attacking the same target. It's the heaven and earth phenomenon formed by the heaven and earth energy of the leaders of the 4 largest forces. On average, each of them has the strength of more than 4 ancient black dragons, in addition to more than the power of 5,000 ancient horned dragons. Boom, 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 boom. Thunderous air explosions rippled in succession. Some of the weaker Ling Tian sect's disciples even turned red and bled from their eyes, noses, and mouth. They hurriedly covered their ears with their hands. Now all leaders of the 4 largest forces had utilized their grade 1 spirit weapon. All their spirit weapons were different. One used a blade, one used a sword, one used a hammer, and the other one used a glove. Clang, 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 clang. Wherever the person using the blade passed, the airflow seemed to be split open with his giant blade. A sky full of blade gleams swept across the sky and headed toward the figure in front, which seemed to have transformed into a 5-colored divine dragon. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. When the person using the sword attacked, overwhelming sword chi shot out and became a sword web, which covered the purple figure like a net that encompassed heaven and earth. Boom, 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 boom. Regardless of whether it was the giant hammer smashing or the gloved fist pummeling, all of it was like shots of cannonballs shooting across the sky that set off a terrible burst of air explosions. Those explosions caused the bloodshed of the weaker Ling Tian sect disciples. The strongest one fully exerting himself would amount to the strength of 4 ancient black dragons, in addition to the power of more than 6,000 ancient horned dragons. At the maximum, the weakest one would amount to the strength of 4 ancient black dragons, in addition to 5,000 ancient horned dragons. Duan Ling Tian, who used a heaven-rank advanced movement martial technique, dragon soaring the 9 heavens, seemed exceptionally peaceful when meeting the increasingly close attack from his 4 opponents. Duan Ling Tian turned again with a thought. Their strength is pretty equal, and all of them were stronger than the Zhou clan Grand Elder. Swoosh. This time, Duan Ling Tian swiveled around and rushed back to face the full blow of the leaders of the 4 largest forces under everyone's watchful eyes. You're looking for death. As Duan Ling Tian turned and charged towards them, the leaders of the 4 largest forces, including the sect leader of 1,000 Feet sect, had shock in their eyes while sneering. In their opinion, the sect leader of the Ling Tian sect, Duan Ling Tian, was offering himself to be killed. He gave up resisting? That was what the 4 of them thought, as a smug smile hung at the corner of their mouths at the same time. At the same time, the attacks exerted by the 4 of them, accompanied by the vast heaven and earth phenomenon that was accumulated, rained on the purple figure like a storm. What's the sect leader doing? The Ling Tian sect elders and disciples' faces changed dramatically. Only a few people who were familiar with Duan Ling Tian seemed to have guessed something as their eyes brightened. In contrast, the remaining 6 persons, including the sect leader of the true martial sect, Wu Lai, also widened their eyes. To them, Duan Ling Tian was seeking death by turning at a time like that. Perhaps he felt that he's dead without a doubt today, so he wanted to make it a quick one. The sect leader of the Ling Tian sect isn't so special after all. That was the voice in most of their minds. Jianer, can you see this? Duan Ling Tian's going to die now. As Duan Ling Tian was exposed to the attacks of the leaders of the 4 largest forces, a radiant smile appeared on Wu Lai's face, as if he had already seen the scene in which Duan Ling Tian was killed. However, the smile on his face completely froze in the next moment. Oh God, what did he just see? At the same time, the 5 other persons beside Wu Lai also changed their expressions. Disbelief was apparent on their face. Everyone from the Ling Tian sect was also shocked. However, most people showed hope and expectation on their faces as if they had just glimpsed a dawn of new hope.